I didn't know anything about your past. All I knew when I met you was that everyone in the choir department, in the drama department, in that area, you were like the big sister. You just had that energy. You had this maturity, and you had this way about you that people could connect with you. People felt like they could trust you. I was one of those people after I went through that like freshman year being an asshole phase. I was, yeah, I know I was not the nicest, but I, especially in sophomore year for me, you became this crucial role for me. I don't know. I talk to you a lot, and I feel like you have this electrifying personality. Where do you think you get that from?
Well, honestly, I developed it after a lot that I went through growing up. I was in a very abusive, unstable household with my biological father.
Mm.
We were very isolated, couldn't do much. So my voice came from all of that. I wasn't able to speak up. I wasn't able to talk about how I felt. And my escape was when we finally got out of it, was me being the person I am.
Is that when you started singing?
Nobody knew I started singing until 8th grade. But I've been singing since I was 3.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You've got the voice of a seasoned adult. It's if anyone that hasn't heard Sammie sing, you need to find a way to do that, because it's incredible. I've never heard a voice like yours, and I'm not just blowing smoke. Like, this is one of the reasons I had you on, is because it's such a powerful voice, and you've got such a powerful story behind it. I mean, when did your voice start? When did you figure out that this is something that wasn't just a hobby?
Well, when I was going through all of that, like the whole like abuse thing,
Mm-hmm.
I would like lock myself in the bathroom and like sing without anyone knowing. And it was like my escape to like express myself.
Yeah.
And I like grew like fond of it after like being in like the 4th grade and starting to sing like covers by myself, or like in the car, in the backyard, to my dogs, my little audience.
Yeah.
And I like began to say like, oh my God, I'm gonna become a famous singer one day. Like, I'm gonna become a professional singer.
Yeah.
That was my lifelong goal. And it's still one of them, but I've kind of like given up slowly, which is not a good thing.
Why?
I don't know.
Do you think do you want to keep singing, or is it something that you kind of want to leave behind?
No, I love singing.
You love singing. So even if you don't pursue it professionally, it's something you always do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's important for people to find that. It's an escape, but at the same time, it's kind of, I look at it like that is life. You know what I mean? Like, the other things in life are kind of pulling you away from that portion of your life that makes you feel so, like, if I am speaking about this correctly, because for me it's acting. When I really start diving into a role or diving into the mind of a character, everything else just kind of fades away. Nothing else really matters. It's just me and this person's story that I'm trying to tell. And I feel like that's what singing is for you, unless I'm wrong.
No, yeah.
So I guess I don't know why you wouldn't want to take that to as far of a level as you could.
Well, I kind of am in a way.
Oh.
I am working with a producer. I have
a producer. Okay.
I'm writing songs. I'm still getting in the gist of trying to come out with them, but
yeah,
I have one completed song, and I'll probably show you that one later.
I would love to hear it.
And it's actually about my 8th grade talent show, when I finally came out with singing. And it was about like the whole stage fright thing, and having people look at me differently, and then having like all the people that like bullied me growing up be like coming up to me like if I was like a little star, and then I was just like, get out of my face.
I was gonna say, what was that like for you when you finally did show that voice?
Scary. I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I gotta get the balls to do it. Gotta get that courage. I need to express the way that I felt for so many years that I've had pent up inside.
Mm-hmm.
It felt good, but then I like hated like all the fake people coming up to me and like being like, "Oh my God, Sammie, you're the best!" Like, "Oh my God, that's my best friend." I'm like, "No, honey, I'm not."
But in a way, since you've done that, you now are kind of able to see who is fake and who isn't, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Not 100%, but I mean, I was when I first did a performance in eighth grade was the first time I really did like a talent show or anything like that. And ever since then, I could kind of just sense like I like to say someone needs to prove to be your friend, not prove that they're not your friend. You know, they're not a friend until they've been there for you, until they've that doesn't mean you have to be an asshole to everybody, counter to my previous self, but it just means just to be careful, you know?
Yeah. See, like when I first met you, it was like a rough, bumpy start. Cause like I first met you when you were doing In the Heights.
Mm-hmm.
And I congratulated you because like we had that one big rally like promoting In the Heights, and I sang the national anthem. And I came up to you and I congratulated you. I was like, wow, you have like the voice of like, whoa. And you just like looked at me with like the awkward glance and like the disgusted face. And I was like, oh, he don't like me. Never mind.
That's not how I remember it, but I'm sure that's how it happened because my memory tends to fail me. But I mean, it's you're stronger than I am because after that eighth grade, when I started diving into the arts, I don't want to say I didn't trust anybody, but I kind of didn't trust anybody. Like everyone, I just felt like that you were saying that I was kind of like, oh, she's just another one of those people that would have called me and made fun of me if it was 3 years ago, and now is just saying this because I'm actually doing something with myself. And then I got to know you, and that's not who you are at all. You know, you're like a mother to everyone. It's crazy.
Exactly.
That maturity that you developed at such a young age, you said a lot of it came from the cancer experience, right? Mm-hmm. When were you diagnosed?
2 months after I turned 15.
15 years old?
Yeah. It was December 28th. I went to the doctors because my sister had a physical. Mm-hmm. And I had a really bad cough for like a year and 8 months on and off. And I don't know if anyone told you about this, but the year prior, like during choir, I like passed out in front of everyone, like hit the floor. Yeah. And I was wheeled out, but like I was like determined because we had a show that day and everyone thought it was from the stress. And I was like, no, like we had a big gig at Lido Isle. And I was like, no, I can't miss that. Like choir was my everything. And it's just, I don't know if you remember a kid named Gage Curley, but he was like in a really, really good like bass baritone. And I was standing right next to him because you know how we would do like our circles of like mixed like alto, sopranos, tenors, basses. We were doing that, and I was like wearing a dress and heels, and they thought it was because I was standing up really straight and like not breathing properly that I passed out. But it turned out that after going to the doctors, I was really anemic and I had no red blood cells in my body. I was living with white blood cells in my body for months and months on end.
I didn't even know that was possible.
Yeah, I know.
Like, so when you went into the physical, what did you just tell them that you like weren't feeling great? And then how did that?
No, actually my dad, or my mom's boyfriend, my dad, he was very annoyed with my cough and told the whole doctor's office, give her whatever you need to get this away, because like it's keeping me up all night and I wake up at like 5 o'clock in the morning to get ready for work. And I was like, oh my God. And the first thing they said was she'll get a flu shot. And I hate shots. I hate needles. I hated needles. I'm used to them now, but like I was like, I ain't doing it. I ain't doing it. I got so angry towards him, and I got so angry towards him. And I told them, I'm only gonna get it if my sister goes first. And she's terrified of needles too. So I was like, I'm not going until she goes. And I was standing at like a little nook of the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
And there was I'll always remember this like so vividly. There was a lady on a computer right next to me, and my vision started going blurry and my hearing went out. And I told the lady, I was like, ma'am, I'm feeling really dizzy. Can I get a chair? She looked at me. She just like gave me like a smirk, like a whatever, and turned back to her desk and started typing. And I asked her again, and I said it more aggressively because I'm not an aggressive person.
No, you're not.
And I told her, Miss, I'm feeling dizzy. Can I have a chair? And 2 seconds later, my whole vision goes blank. Like everything just turned black. And I wake up, I think like 2 minutes later, I think that's what my dad said, on the floor in his lap, him fanning me, like freaking out. And everyone just like huddled over me. And I was like so shocked because I was like, what's happening? And they were like, you passed out. And I was like, oh my God, how long did I pass out for? Because it felt like 2 seconds. Mm-hmm. And they were like, for a good like solid minute and a half or something. And I was like, what? And it was just confusing because I was like, I've never fainted in front of anyone but in choir. But like I would faint at home a lot. Like I would pass out like sitting down or like pass out in bed or something. But it was just all like abrupt. And the lady that like ignored me basically like tried to help me up, and I was like, don't touch me. Like I was so angry because I was like, what is going on? Like I asked her for a chair. I told her that I was feeling dizzy and she didn't pay attention. So I was like, don't touch me. And I was put up on a table, like I was carried up on a table, and they were like doing like those anemic tests, like the fingerprint, like needle tests to see like if I was diabetic or like there was something wrong with me. And all they told me was, there's no blood in your system. And I was like, that's not possible, honey. And they were like, we need you to go to Hogue. Like, we need to rush you to the nearest hospital that you're at. And I was like, oh. And they're like, you need a blood transfusion. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go get a blood transfusion and I'm good. Probably get some hydration, I'm good.
Yeah.
And I spent 7 hours at Hogue ER trying to get in to get my blood drawn. No blood was drawn because there was nothing in me. They got out some of my white blood cells and they spun it. And I remember a bald doctor with a really big lab coat.
Yeah.
A lab coat coming out of a room 2C. And he sat us down and gave me no warning and said, your daughter has cancer. And it just everything just hit me. And I sat there in shock for hours. And they said, we are going to go transfer her to Chalk Children's Hospital because we cannot treat her here. She is not above 18. But that might take a while. So I spent 4 more hours getting x-rays, CT scans, PET scans, everything that you could imagine to figure out what was wrong with me. Because they couldn't detect where the cancer was, but they told me that I had it. And I was like, these people are lying. I was like, I'm so healthy. I've never had a broken bone in my body. I've never been sick. I've never had allergies. I don't have allergies. I've been a healthy kid. And it was just crazy because I was like, why me? And during all of that, my mom and my dad were crying their eyes out. And I just sat there confused, this is a dream. I'm gonna wake up. Because I thought I passed out again and I had a bad dream. And I was like in a hospital like waiting room, like a bed waiting room, and they put like a big IV in me. It's called the PICC line. It would like go from like here. I have a really big scar from it, but it would go from like your like main vein all the way down to like your chest area into your heart.
Okay.
So they put like a big PICC line in me, and that got infiltrated from all of the liquids because they didn't place it right. So my arm swelled up so badly, and I hated the feeling, and I didn't even notice it. I was like, dude, this is crazy. So I sat there for hours. The best part of my night that like happened that night was when the EMTs came and everything, because they told them that I was a 15-year-old girl. You know how tall I am. So they were expecting some child, and they brought a child-sized gurney. And when it came to the time, it was like 4:00 in the morning by then, and I was barely getting transferred over to chalk. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And I was like, I didn't see the size of the gurney. So I got up from my hospital bed, and it was all like so crazy, because I was like, they like looked at me and they went, like their whole face just looked up at me, and I was like so triggered. I was like, I'm not that tall, stop. And they were like, this is the girl? This is the 15-year-old girl? And I was just like, yeah, that's me. And they're like, what's your name? Can we verify your name real quick? And I was like, Samantha Diaz. And they were like, okay. And I was just like, okay. And they like set me up, and I kid you not, my feet were like this much hanging off of the ground. They put all their equipment on me because I was too tall to fit in their group. So that was like probably the best night I had, because I was like living a dream, like being like, damn, she's like a tall queen. And I was like, but I was still in shock.
Yeah, so it didn't really like hit you yet?
Mm-mm. I was confused. So I was like, okay, whatever. I'm probably going to go get tested and anything, and it's probably going to come back negative. They probably like misdiagnosed me. And I got labs done at Chalk, and my night nurse, Matt, he will forever be my favorite night nurse of the world. His name is Matt.
Shout out to Matt.
He told me that I had leukemia. It's a type of cancer in your blood that affects mostly in your bone marrow, which provides you everything in your body. And he told me that they caught it very early but very late, and that if I would have waited, I know it sounds really confusing.
Yeah.
They caught it early enough that it didn't kill me, but they caught it very late to the point where I had too much. And the next day, we were all going over plans and everything about what was going to go on, and I had like a day of rest with like fluids going into me and everything. And the next day after that, I got my first big surgery, and it was to place a double lumen port. Usually people only have one. It's like a little plastic round that has a squishy middle to it that connects to a line that connects into your heart. But since mine was very far out, I had to get a double one. So it was like a big plaque, like that big, in the middle of my chest, going into my heart, with 2 lines going into my heart. And I would get all of my stuff to do that. And I would get my chemos, I would get my fluids, my blood, my platelets, all of the fun stuff through that line. And if I had to get more stuff, I would have to get more IVs, which I think you've seen some photos on my Instagram where it's like I had like this big sleeve of like IVs.
Yeah.
At like to the point where I had like 6 IVs in my hand at one point, because I had to get fluids on end, blood, platelets, and it was just like ongoing the whole time.
When did if it ever did, I'm sure it did, but when did it like hit you like this is real?
Oh, I was in shock, kid you not, for 2 months.
I believe it. I don't know how you would ever
Like,
recognize like holy shit, this is fucking actually happening to me.
yeah, like it never hit me. Like every day, everyone would come in and visit me, and I hated it because I was like, why are you guys here? Like, I'm not gonna die. Get out of my room. And I finally met like my primary doctor. Her name is Jamie Frediani. She is my best friend. And she basically explained it to me that I wasn't ever going to get hurt with them, that they were going to take care of me. And I guess that at that point it hit me that I was living with a disease that I made fun of my whole life. Like, you know how they say like, oh, if you like microwave styrofoam, you'll get cancer, or like if you'll microwave this, you'll get cancer. And I like always made fun of the fact of cancer.
Yeah.
And then it like hit me and I like broke down. And I like thought the worst, and I thought of the most negative things in like possible. And I said, what if I don't wake up tomorrow? What if today is my last day alive? I need to do this. And I remember one day my sister and my whole family came to visit me because my grandparents were here. And I was at the point of like giving up, and she's not a person to cry, so she didn't cry. And she held my hand and told me, Obama, it's all going to be okay. You can do this. And I cried. And I promised from then on out that I was going to fight for her, fight for my family, and most importantly, fight for myself. Because going through this disease, no one tells you how hard it is. They just show you, like in movies, the good. They'll show you the good and then the bad of them dying, or them like, oh, going through this and then being like, oh, I'm like vomiting, or oh, I'm weak. But like it physically hurts. Like chemos kill you. Like they kill everything in your body to the point where I had to learn how to rewalk. I had to relearn how to basically like write. I had to relearn how to do a lot of stuff. And I felt the weakest ever. And it sucked. But it was a part of life. And the whole time I like blamed God, like saying, why did you give this to me? But at the same time, I was doing a lot of like bad stuff before, like rebellious teen things that I shouldn't be doing at such a young age. And I thought that it was a punishment. And I finally like got to my head and I said, maybe this was like my awakening. Like if I kept doing all that stuff, I would have killed myself, or I would have gotten into a bad accident with friends and killed myself like that. And this was my way of saying, get it together, or something else is going to happen. So I made the most life-threatening decisions that I would never imagine today. I was forced to grow up so early, which is why I guess take things day by day and don't expect much. Because like I was going through a lot, like with the whole chemos and everything. I was physically burning inside. Like all of these things made me burn inside. Like I'm not kidding.
Yeah,
like if
people don't talk about that, like what it like you say in the movies and stuff. It's like, oh, I'm going into chemo, I'm in chemo, I'm out of chemo. Like they don't talk about what that feels like. I have no idea.
They'll just show someone that like, oh, they'll like start walking slow, or like, oh, the pigmentation will like darken, but that's it. And it's true. I got very dark when I went through all of that. Mm-hmm. Like my whole skin got very dark, like a shade that I did not have before. And but when I was going through all of that, like I was burning inside. Like I had cold sores, mouth sores. Like I didn't eat I remember a time when I got like a stomach infection that I didn't eat for 2 months.
Is it hard to recognize that? Because like before you were told you had cancer, it wasn't even a thing in your head. But now you're getting put through all this pain, this tangible pain being inflicted on you, and they're telling you this is to help solve something that you didn't even know you had. Was it hard for you to recognize that this is actually helping you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like they had me on steroids. They had me on um like 48-hour chemo bags. Um they had me on like isolation. They had me on a lot of stuff that I never imagined, because like I said, you only see the good in movies, and then you see the what happens when you don't make it. And I went through a year and a half of ongoing and offgoing chemo. I would go from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. to get chemo all day. And half of the time it was good. I got
What does it?
I
What does
got
it feel? What is it? I'm sorry, but what is that? For because someone that has no idea, what does that feel like when you say you go from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. of chemo? What does that mean?
see, I don't know how to explain it. It's just a very I'm very fortunate to have gone through it. That's what I
Okay.
can say. Um it's very depressing because you can hear kids crying in the background saying that they don't want to do this anymore. You hear kids laughing because they're babies. Like you see babies there getting chemo, and it's depressing. It makes me cry because there's like infants like 1 years old, 9 months old, 2 years old, like a variety up to like 22. And I, you can never mentally prepare yourself for something like that, like because you only see grown-ups having cancer and stuff. You never see little kids unless they're like on commercials. But having to go through that and see it in person, it's depressing. I never wanted to be there. Never wanted to be there. But now, like as I got out of it, I want to go back because it's my safe space.
How so?
After like my whole cancer stuff, I was diagnosed with anxiety and PTSD, like severe PTSD. Um, I have like reoccurring nightmares, reoccurring thoughts of me relapsing and not making it out this time. And it just sucks because like everyone gets it after they go through this. And it's not something that we could help, it's not something that we could treat. It's something that you have to live with on a day-to-day basis, to the point where it's like you have to make it okay for yourself. And I guess like having the hospital in appointments like every week, because I used to have them weekly, and then I had them monthly, and then I had them every other month, and now I have them a year apart because I'm doing so well. But at the same time, it kicks me because it's like I want to go back. I need to go get my labs done. I want to go get this done. I need to see if I'm okay. Because you never think you're okay. You never do. Because one day you can feel the same symptoms before you were diagnosed, and then freak yourself out, and then have it all be okay, but you don't think that. And it's just a scary thought. And that's all I think about like 24/7. I get therapy for it and it really helps, but it's never going to go away as
Because
much as people try to help.
before you were diagnosed, you never would have thought you had it, but now afterwards, you think that since you didn't know you had it before, how do I not know it's getting worse now? Type thing. Is that, and of course, it's like kind of not an addiction going back, but it was a part of your daily life for how long that, and now now it's just gone. I mean, that was your life for what, a year and a half? How long were you there for? Like, how long was it extreme?
Extreme, 2 years. And then the last, yeah, for the last bit of those 2 years was hardcore radiation. Like hardcore radiation.
What made you keep going? That's just such a strong thing to, and you're at only 15 years old. You don't have a whole life of like, I'm fighting for my kids, or I built up this. You're a 15-year-old girl. Like, if I'm 15 years old, I was freaking, I, I don't even know what I was doing at 15 years old. I was probably being a dumbass kid. But you, what do you pull from? How do you fight that hard?
I don't know. I guess I did it for my mom. I did it for her. She raised 5 amazing girls by herself until she met her boyfriend, aka my stepfather, my dad. She fought really hard, and I didn't want to let her down. And nobody wants to go through grieving a child at such a young age, or in general, like as a parent, nobody would want to grieve a child. So I took on very like life-threatening, like 50-50, you might die from this chemo if you want to take it, like trial runs. I took trial run chemos. I took at least 6, and they helped me. And I had to sign like all these waivers, and my mom would like tell me, don't do it. I don't want you doing it. I don't want you doing it at all, like in the slightest. And I said, Mom, this is not your decision. This is mine. And she said, no, kind of not, because you're not 18. And I said, nope, this is my decision. So I did 6 trial chemos. One of them didn't work, but luckily it didn't do anything to me. And I mean, I'm glad I did them, because then if I didn't, who knows? I wouldn't be here.
Did you keep singing through the process? Did you ever stop, or did that remain a constant for you?
No, I stopped singing for 8 months. I became very depressed. I stopped doing things. I stopped talking to people. I logged out of everything. Like, I didn't have a phone. I didn't have social media. Like, people told me I fell off the face of the earth until I resurfaced and like made an Instagram. Like, people started like texting me. They're like, oh my God, where have you been? And I was just like, not everything revolves around social media. Like, chill out. But like, I stopped singing for 8 months in total. And my mom snitched me out to Lidon. I swear, I like hated my mom at this moment, because I was like, I'm done. I don't want anyone to know what I'm doing. And my mom snitched me out to Lidon and told him that I was not singing. And he sent me music and told me, you have to learn this and send me videos or voice recordings of you singing it. I don't know if he still has them, or I don't know if he remembers this at all, but my mom snitched me out.
Ladon is the high school choir director, for anyone that doesn't know who Ladon is.
Yes.
So you were forced back into singing, but did it help you?
No, I was still very highly depressed. I wanted to give up multiple times. Trust me, I wanted to give up. It's not an easy thing going through it, but I had to keep going. I had a little sister that had to look up to me, even though I didn't make the smartest choices, or I'm not the smartest. Like, she's an honor roll student. She's an honor roll kid. Like, she's a good kid. And I had to do it for her, because like, she's my best friend. And when I was going through all of that, I like had to put on a brave face, and I was like, no, I'm fine. Like, I'm fine. And then my mom told every single one of my siblings, and told them all, because like only 2 of my sisters live with me. My third sister and my little sister, and my 2 other ones are married and they're living on their own. So she told them about it, and they all came down. to talk to me and visit me. And I felt so vulnerable because it was like, singing is my thing. It's my way of communicating. It is my way of expressing myself. When I'm mad, when I'm happy, when I'm sad, when I'm like bipolar, like it's my way of expressing myself.
Yeah.
There's not a day that I can't go by that I'm not like humming something or singing something or like pulling up a karaoke track. Like earlier, before we got onto this, I was singing freaking Almost There from The Princess and the Frog. Like I was like, there's not a day that goes by that I can't sing. Like, but when I went through all of that, like I went through the lowest of the lows. Like my sisters came to see me because that's not me. Like after I came out with like singing and stuff and like showed off my talent, you know, like everybody.
No, you have talent. That's not, there's no quotation marks necessary. You're incredibly talented.
Thank you. But everyone like came down to see me, and I was in the hospital for I think 2 months that time, getting chemos, like actually admitted in the hospital, not like outpatient, because I had outpatient infusion centers and then I had in hospital infusion centers.
Mm-hmm.
So one of them is called OPI and then one of them is called the hospital. So I was admitted in the hospital for 2 months and 2 months and a week, and I finally went home, and my mom was like, oh my God, like I want her to keep singing. Like she told me that she prayed every day that she wanted me to get back to myself, like because this isn't the daughter that she knows. And one day I was in the shower, like I had people like in the bathroom with me because I couldn't shower alone. Like I would like pass out or like fall or like couldn't stand up straight. So like my sister was in the bathroom with me, just sitting on the toilet, like waiting if I like were to fall or something or I needed help. And then I started singing out of nowhere. And she recorded it, and she was crying, like crying her eyes out, because she was like, this is the first time I've heard you sing in 8 months. And I was like, what? And I didn't even realize that I was singing. Like I was just like I started humming first, and then I like broke out into song. And then she like recorded it all, and she still has it to this day. And she like always shows me, and she's like, remember the time that when I want to go visit you and you began to sing? Like the first time you sang after like 8 months, 9 months? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, I got to witness that like firsthand. And it like made me think like, why am I letting this get me down? Like, no matter what, I need to keep going. And after a while, like I was admitted more in the hospital, and I was spending a lot more time there. And I asked the doctors if they had any instruments. And they were like, I don't know if we do, but I can ask. And then I met the most lovely woman in the world. Her name is Kara. She is our AYA, basically like manager of the hospital. It's adolescent and young adults group.
Okay.
And she introduced me to musical therapy, and they would send multiple people in to come sing to me, or I would sing with them. And that's how my whole noticeability of being able to sing more came into the hospital. And they hooked me up with a nice producer and everything because they saw potential in me. And at one point, Ryan Seacrest gave me an acoustic guitar.
What?
Yeah.
I have to ask this, because you've been through so much, and talking to you is it's nuts that you're only like 2 years older than me. But do you sometimes, or ever at all in life, when you're talking to someone, think in your head like you have no idea what I've been through, or think in your head like you've been through nothing, so who are you to tell me what to do? Does that ever cross your mind?
No. Because no matter what I've gone through, I'll never, not ever throw that in someone's face and say, you haven't gone through what I've gone through. Because we all fight our own battles. We all have our difficulties. We all have our family issues. And I don't know what's going on with you. Like, I can see you, Emmett, as like the most energetic, freaking fun-loving person in the world. But you've posted before and after pictures of when you were young and now. And I never knew that about you.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I don't know anyone's backstory. And I'm a person to give full opportunity and chances. I will never judge anyone right off the bat. I am a open, expressing person, and I am a very loud person, and you know that. Yeah. And I go into every day with an open mindset of I need to let people talk. I need to hear people out. And that's what not many people do. And it makes me kind of like mad because like people don't do it.
Yeah.
Because it's like you don't know what people are going through and you're over here telling your whole life story like it's the end of the world, and then you hear somebody like probably almost dying and you don't know about it, or like hearing someone going through like abuse in their house and you don't know about it, or like who knows, like maybe someone's a scholar student and they're like having financial troubles, like, and you don't know about it. Like, we don't know anyone's story. So when with the question that you asked me, do I go into like conversations thinking you don't know what I've been through? I've gone through way worse than you. No, I don't.
That's incredibly strong of you. And I think this is why we get along so well, because I've been through so many different phases of my life. When I look back, it's like every year or every 2 years or so, it's been a completely different person. Like I look back at that person and go, what the fuck were you thinking, man? You didn't know anything. Like you were just like when we talked about earlier, when I first met you, I was so judgmental because for the first, as long as I could remember before that, everyone had judged me right off the bat. This angry fat kid from Jersey just is pissed off at everybody. And I was pissed off at everybody because I thought everybody hated me. And I feel like after I've been through certain phases and grown out of it, I look at the world with eyes of, I want to learn just from everybody. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the people fighting the hardest battles, or the people that have battles that are the hardest for them, those are the ones they don't talk about. You know, those are the ones that they think, since it's in their head, and they think, I don't know, I fight things in my head, but I feel like I can't really talk about it, or I shouldn't talk about it because I know other people are fighting so much worse ones. So I don't want to complain about that. I don't feel like I have the right to do that. And the only thing I think with those things that go through my head is that, hey, you have no idea what's going on in anybody else's head, no matter what socioeconomic status, no matter what race, religion, whatever it is that makes people judge each other. You just don't know what's going on in their head. And I applaud you for having that such openness and ability to listen and learn. Really, you seem like you really care when someone talks to you. You notice that?
Yeah.
And yeah, like I just wish. That's why I started this. You know that, Sammie? I wanted to just sit here and learn from other people. I had no idea about half of that. I knew you went through, you had cancer. That's all I knew. That's all I knew. Because you don't talk about it. You listen to people. What makes you want to just listen to people other than share yourself?
First of all, I'm going to go back on what you said.
Okay.
That you think that your problems aren't worth listening to. Every problem is worth listening to. Because at the end of the day, if you have that pent up inside of you, you will keep piling and piling things on top of one another until you break, until you erupt like a volcano. That's what I do. And I do it every single day because I don't like to express myself, because I was never able to express myself. So when people tell me that my problems, or like your problems, like you say yourself, like, oh, my problems aren't worth hearing. Yes, they are. And I always tell people, whatever you tell me is between me and you. I will never go around telling one person, not one person, even if they're my partner, my family, best friend, like it doesn't matter. What your problems are will be and said and stay between us. Like I will always be here to listen to someone, even if they trust me or don't, even if I know them or I don't. Like I've gone through probably 100 people that have never known me and told me their life story. And it feels so good. And the reason why I sit down and listen to people is because I know that I'm not the only one going through something. Like even if they think that their thing is so little, like, oh, not like being able to get what they want, like getting a new purse or new shoes or new this, like there's a lot of people, including myself, that went years getting hand-me-downs from family, years of suffering by not being able to have money, years of not even being able to have a phone. Like I got my first phone when I was 14. Like it's crazy because like people come up to me and they'll be like, oh my God, my mom was being such a jerk because of this. And I said, the one thing that I will always say is do never come to me and blame your parents. That will set me off, because at the end of the day, your parents will always be your best friend. Always, no matter how many times you fight, no matter how many things that you disagree on with them, they will always be your best friend, because they were there from you from the start. Like they have never left your side. Friends come and go, partners come and go, relationships come and go, but your family is there for you no matter what.
Yeah.
And I like to sit down and talk to people and tell them, I'm a very straightforward person. If you need to hear something, I will tell you. I will not hesitate to tell you. What you need to hear is what you need to hear. I will not sugarcoat it. So when I see people that I really connect with, it's hard because I like to connect with a lot of people. I am very open. I'm very friendly. I'm very approachable. Maybe not at first, but I'm very approachable to the point where it's like, you can trust me. And I hope you can, you know? Like after so many years of like meeting people, I know how to let go. Maybe it'll take a while and maybe it will hurt, but like I know how to let go. And when I meet people, I don't judge. I listen to you and then I judge. Like I'll say, do I want this person in my life or do I not? And when I met you, my determination was to get you to like me. That was my one goal. I said, I'm going to make this kid like me.
You succeeded. You've succeeded.
And I said, I deserve a chance. Because I said, I deserve a chance. Because like you were friends with like everyone that like basically like made fun of me in choir. Like the whole like, the whole cast that you were with didn't really like me because I was the teacher's pet when I really wasn't. And it was all of them that they were the teacher's pet. But when I met you, I was like, I'm determined to make him like me because I know he's got potential and I really want him to know that. Because when I heard you sing, oh my God, I had goosebumps on top of my goosebumps on top of those goosebumps.
Sing that well. What are you talking about?
Stop. I have all the videos of you from In the Heights in my phone still to this day. So do not come at me, Mr. Sunny.
It's crazy that you say that because within the next year, like sophomore year, you were like, when other people said things, it was like, all right, cool, thank you, appreciate it. But when Sammie said something, it was like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like you became to me, especially in choir, because I did, as you know, I was not a huge fan of choir. Yes. It just wasn't my cup of tea. I didn't enjoy that. That environment wasn't my environment. And to be honest, I've never really found a group or a clique or an environment that I feel like, oh my God, these are my brothers and sisters. Like this is bondage right here. I found places where I feel comfortable, like on stage or on the other side of a camera. I'm like, this is me. But I have like 2 or 3 people at school that I can be like, I really trust this person. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know, like I'm sure you listen to everybody, but do you open up and do you trust everybody?
No. No. I'm not a person to open up. Like I told you, I'm a person to pile things up until I erupt like a volcano. Which is not a good thing.
No.
But it helps me experience not losing someone, which is what I have lost a lot growing up. Like deaths, best friends, relationships, more best friends, especially when I went through the whole cancer thing. I lost about 4 people the same year, and it sucks. But I'm a very closed off person, but I am an open book, if that makes any sense.
Kind of.
Like, if you ask me a question about my personal life, I'll tell you. But I won't go into depth.
Yeah.
This is the first time I have told anyone, and you're like broadcasting this, and I'm fine with it. Like, I give you like full consent and everything, but like I've never talked to anyone but a therapist about my life story. Like, not even my parents. Because it's something that I have to deal with myself. I don't want people to worry about me. I don't want people to give me the pity that they think I want, which I don't. Yeah. Like when I went through the whole cancer thing, I didn't tell people about it because I was ashamed. Because every time I brought it up, they would give me that pity look of, and I'm like, no, like I'm here. If I were dead, I would want you to give me that pity. But like, I'm here, I'm thriving, I'm living, I'm positive, I am free-spirited, like I'm here. Stop giving me that look.
Yeah.
Like it's a difference between dying and living, and I'm living.
It's that fight in you, that response. It's crazy because you are not a hostile person, but when someone presses you, like I could imagine with certain things like that, you'd bite back. I mean, for me, the idea of, I like I said before, I don't like to talk about myself at all, but I mean, when I've been diagnosed with OCD since I was in 6th grade, and it was the worst in 5th, 4th, 6th grade because I had no idea what was going on, and I literally thought I was going to murder my entire family. Like those were the type of thoughts I was having. Like I'd be standing there with a pen, and I remember telling my mom one time, "Mom, I don't know if this is a real thought or if I'm actually going to stab you with this pen. I don't know. I physically don't know. It's these intrusive thoughts that they just flood, and until I found out what they were, I had no idea. I had no idea. I just thought everyone had these thoughts of like the weirdest things you can imagine, like so gruesome. I can't even go into detail, but it was weird because that was all I knew from this disorder, right? And then once those thoughts kind of went away, but OCD presented itself in different ways in my life now. Like I didn't know what it was still because I had been diagnosed for these thoughts, not for the other parts of OCD. Like the doors and windows are open, and I was like, still to this day, I freak out if all the doors and windows are open. What the fuck is that? Like but I freak out. And like you said, when someone wants to give you like pity or something, it hurts. And that's why I don't want to talk about it. And that's why like I'm so against going to like a group therapy for it or a therapy for it at all, because I'm afraid of that. If I recognize it as real or as an actual part of me that I can't control or as a disease, I feel like I'm giving into it versus if I just say it's part of me and I love, he's my best. It's my best friend too. Like it took me till now to realize that part of me that made me hate myself on a lot of nights is the same part of me that's going to make me, in my opinion, very successful. Just in this, not successful in the sense of money, but successful in the sense of it's weird. I'm going on this tangent.
You're on guard. You're on guard 7, and it's good.
Yeah. It's like, I feel like some people, the meaning of life is to be happy, right?
Yeah.
But to me, I don't really know what happiness is. All I know is that I feel better when I get better. Whatever that means. When I get better, I feel better. I don't know if that's happiness. So when people are like, if you just never stop working and you never stop diving into those things, you'll never be happy and you'll never have fun. But for me, that's what makes me happy, is that improvement. Does it make sense?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is why it's crazy, because you and I have such a different story, different backgrounds, your different looks, different sounds. We're two completely different people. But by just talking to each other for it hasn't even been an hour, just talking to each other,
yeah,
we can find out a connection. And I feel like that's what people need to start doing more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You need to start talking to each other, learning from each other, and listening and caring. And on that note, thank you, Samantha, for coming on the show. I really do appreciate you opening up. It means the world to me.
Of course. Anything.
And anyone else watching this, make sure you go listen to somebody. Start talking to people. Stop judging people before you have a conversation with them. Drop a comment down below if you feel like there's someone else out there you think I should interview. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And as always, be yourself, but be better. Class dismissed.